Hey everyone, I'm here in my new program, Painterly, to give you guys an overview of what the program is and how it works. So simply put, Painterly is an autonomous painting program that takes input images and turns them into digital paintings. And the way it does that is by just bombarding the canvas with seemingly random brushstrokes and then either accepting or rejecting them based on whether they improve the painting or make it worse. So an improvement is defined, and you can see that with the debug tools here and the box around each brushstroke. An improvement is defined as the bounding box surrounding each brushstroke becoming more similar to the input image than it was prior to the brushstroke being attempted. And so if a brushstroke does make the image more similar in terms of the colors in that bounding box, then the brushstroke is accepted, and if not, it's rejected. So what that does is that over time, every accepted brushstroke will make the painting resemble the image that it's supposed to be a painting of more. Now you could just let Painterly run autonomously like this without doing anything, and it would eventually produce, an interesting looking painting. But there are also several tools and techniques you can use to not only produce a painting that resembles the input image faster, uh, or just particular kinds of paintings depending on your taste or what you want to accentuate or focus on the canvas. So I've chosen this image as an example. This is a picture that I took at Notting Hill Carnival like 3 years ago, and I think there's a lot of interesting stuff going on. You can see that the road is full of people, and it's sort of framed by these buildings on three sides. There's lots of interesting faces in the crowd, lots of angles, lots of colors, and so I think it makes for a good showcase image. So we're going to let it run autonomously for a bit longer, and then I'm going to show off a few of the features, starting with the focus area. So we can also see in the lower corner here that we have our overall strokes completed and strokes attempted count. You can see that number is still above 50%, so that in the lifetime of this painting, while it's been painted, over half of the strokes that have been attempted have been accepted. So yes, the brush strokes in the painting are random, but there is also, I've gone to significant lengths to make sure that the candidate brush strokes are viable and that they have a high likelihood of actually being accepted in the first place, so that the program is as efficient as it can be. Okay, I think it's time to start using the focus area. So we can take our draw focus area tool, and we're going to hone in on a particular section of the canvas that we want the algorithm to focus on. So I think a good example for that is this guy. He's quite prominent in the front here. So if we just outline him and we look at what happens now, we see that our brush strokes get significantly finer and that they're confined to this, at least originating within this box that we drew. And we'll see now that this guy gets drawn a lot faster and in a lot more detail than he would have been if we had continued drawing all over our canvas. Also, I want to draw your attention to the bottom corner here. You see we have a similarity rating. So that can either be for the entire canvas or for the focus area. I generally leave this on the focus area because by default, the focus area is the entire canvas anyway. So when we don't have a particular focus area defined, that number will be the same as the entire canvas. This tells us how similar our painting is to our input image in this area. And as this number goes up, the brushstrokes also get finer, and the criteria and the decision-making steps that the algorithm takes for what brushstrokes to attempt changes slightly. And we can already see details coming in here. There is also another way of subdividing the canvas called focus boxes. So we can further subdivide our focus area into multiple focus boxes. And then with this, we can actually define it to move in certain ways. So we'll start with the worst one, which I think is an interesting one, where what this does is at the end of every interval, and we'll talk about intervals in a second, the algorithm will compute which of these particular sub areas, which focus box, has the lowest similarity score, and it will target that one for the next interval. And we can see in our message log here that the least similar focus box has a similarity rating of 93.6 something percent, and that number is incrementing as each interval is drawn. There's also another one called Prioritize Worst, which does something similar where it assigns a random focus box, but it's heavily weighted towards the ones that are less similar than towards the ones that are more similar, and our message log reflects that as well. There are also more trivial or conventional ways of moving focus boxes. You can just have it literally go through all the possibilities sequentially, forwards or backwards, and then there's random as well, and then there is free, which doesn't move at all and relies on user input, either with the arrow keys here or with the focus box select tool. Now we can see that the guy's already taking shape. Maybe we can hone in on his face in particular. And I feel like once you get to this sort of scale or this resolution, it starts to feel a bit like magic, right? Like you can still see physical independent brushstrokes being drawn, but the way that the program paints starts to feel a little bit like it's thinking, you know, it's just refining details. It is a bit, to me, it's a bit surreal to witness. I don't know. And now if we look at this in the context of our entire canvas, we can see just how striking that transition between our area that we've been focusing on is and the canvas at large. So maybe we'll go back to the whole canvas. Yeah, so the basic unit of time that all these decisions are made in is called intervals. So the program attempts 60 brushstrokes per second, but it attempts a certain number of brushstrokes in an interval before it does things like calculating similarity scores or moving the focus box. And so by default, that is set to 50. There is a setting where you can actually change the default, or you can change it for each project as well. So if we make this, let's visualize this. So let's split our canvas into several focus boxes, set it to forwards, and move them every 20 strokes. So yeah, you can see that there. And we saw that while the focus box was hovering over the part that we focused on, it completed 0 out of 20 attempted strokes, because obviously the criteria for a stroke of this scale to make a positive impact there is much stricter because of that time that we spent there before. And so intervals can either measure attempted strokes, as it's doing now, or they can measure completed strokes, which would mean that it won't actually move on to the next interval until 20 strokes are successfully completed. And so yeah, that's the basic premise of the program. You can use it to upload anything you wanted, any image you want, and then just have it paint it and see what sort of output you get. It's a good way of, you know, having fun with memories or with experiences and turning pictures that you've taken into things that you might see in a gallery or in a museum, which I think is an interesting premise. And it doesn't use AI. So if you want to support, you know, real software that isn't just, anyway. So yeah, let's focus on the facade of this building and see it take shape. So we've done a face earlier, let's do a building. Another interesting thing with Painterly, another interesting opportunity that I think it represents and creates is that, you know, traditionally, if you were to sit for a portrait or for a scene to be painted in, like, and have it captured in detail, have a complex scene captured in detail, it has to be relatively still. It's very difficult for a very dynamic scene to be, a complex dynamic scene to be captured by a painter, because to paint it in real time would be quite complex, right? But with Painterly, you can literally take a snapshot of, you know, an object in motion or, you know, a rave or something, right? And have every detail captured exactly as it is on the image in the style of a painting. I think that's quite interesting. So yeah, Painterly's out now. It's in early access, available on Windows. You can buy it on itch.io, and there's a free demo as well. So have fun with it, and I'm excited to see what you guys create with it. All right.